I like that you named this one Run, Scoundrel, Run.
Yeah.
Is that like Rudolph or?
No, the more like the forest run,
Oh,
forest run.
that makes a lot more
I
sense.
already have it like in my head, the thumbnail.
Do
So
you?
yeah,
That's cute. I'm excited to see it.
yeah.
I'm glad you're coming up with it because I'm terrible about coming up with like the titles and the things. Welcome to Princess and Scoundrel, where we take you along our scrappily ever after, from Fantasyland to Tatooine and everything in between. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Steven.
And I did not run a marathon this year.
I did.
Oh!
I see like little set, and then I got to spike it.
You did.
Wrong sport though. But
Wrong sport. I
or
tied your
sport,
shoes.
Not wrong one.
I put the blocks under your feet. No, it wasn't like a race like that.
No.
It was just kind of you standing out in the cold, waiting your turn.
Paid my money to
kind of glam.
take a brutal beating on my legs.
But you didn't pay for park tickets that day.
I didn't.
You got into the park for free that day.
I had park tickets before.
Fair. Well, not everybody is an annual pass holder. we need to renew our annual passes. Like, too sweet. We're going back to the parks this week. Okay, so yeah, you ran a marathon.
Yeah.
You've been training for this. Steven, you've been training for this for quite a while. Walk me through your journey of why would you decide? Okay.
Let's go back to the beginning.
Let's go way back to the beginning. The year was 1983.
Wow.
Way back.
Call me out, please. Tell everybody. Yes, that means I am 41.
A long, long time ago, you were born.
Yes.
That has nothing to do with this. But about a year ago, you started running. And did you have an idea in mind that you wanted to do a marathon? Or when did it come into kind of your mind that, you know what, I'm going to sign up for it and I'm going to do it?
Well, I mean, it's always like there's been this idea of doing one.
It's like, was it like a bucket list thing for you?
Yeah. Well, so like in middle and high school, I ran cross country.
I always forget that.
Like many Hispanic kids in that time. Like I didn't play baseball. I was too small for football, too short for. I could have done baseball, but again, I didn't have the arm. I was smaller, so I was like the only thing I could do was run. So I ran cross country, middle school, part of high school.
Silly question.
Okay.
What is cross country?
It's just running.
That's later.
It's like it's
like long distance running, right?
Long distance running. Okay. But we never did marathons. It was more like 10Ks and.
Okay. So it's not like track. It's like longer distances.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd had like the ability to run.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
You laugh, but some of us don't have that ability. Okay.
But yeah, I just kind of like grew up and had a job and kind of didn't do that, right? Didn't do it for exercise and put it to the wayside.
Every once in a while, we would get like a wild hair and we'd be like, we're runners.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like every new year, there's like you have the resolutions of I'm going to run, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to be fit.
Right.
And you go for a month, the month of January when everybody else goes and then you stop.
Yeah. That's fair.
But yeah, last year I turned 40 and it was kind of like that. It felt like that midlife crisis time. And I was like, what do I do? And, just things were kind of crazy at the beginning of the year. So I just like use that time. Initially, I was like, I wasn't even like trying to do the marathon. It wasn't in my head. It was more of just like, I wanted to maybe find a way to, when they tell you like, oh, just go take a walk or go for a run type of thing.
Like clear your head
type of thing.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was doing. And I was going pretty consistent. So I was like, like I was starting to feel better, like physically.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm getting old. I need to do it.
You're not getting old.
Yeah.
You need to stop with that.
But yeah, I think in February-ish, maybe March, I was kind of like, you know what? Maybe I'll start training for it. And I have like a real bad habit of not following through with things. I think that's the thing. Is like if I want to do something, like if I'm determined enough, I will do it. But if
Right.
I don't have anything to like hold my feet to the flames, I'm just kind of like, I don't know, maybe not.
It's like your initial excitement about something kind of wears off, like the adrenaline of doing something new wears off, and then you're just like, oh, now there's just like a lot left to do, and I'm not jazzed about it.
Yeah.
Which I think every episode we do this year is going to be talking about ADHD, but I think that is a characteristic of ADHD. Is like you try all these new like hobbies and stuff, and you
Yeah.
get jacked, and then you're just like all of a sudden, like out of the blue, you're like, I'm done.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I could have like I have boxes. I could look around, paintball. I have, the 3D printing stuff, which I still kind of do, but it's just like, here's that year's obsession.
Yeah.
And like, I knew everything about it. And I was like a mediocre expert on
You're
that.
not a mediocre expert. You put 100% into everything you do, and you were so like. This is also the year of not talking bad about ourselves, because you dive headfirst into something and you do become an expert, and you are so smart that things just click for you. Like you were helping me with my mosh costume last night, and you're like, "Well, just cut this here and then do that," and I'm like,
well, it's funny that you say that because like
you could see my eyes.
I posted this little meme. It was like I couldn't figure it out in 10 minutes, so it's like I give up
It's
on
dead
it.
to you.
Yeah, it's dead to me. So it's like if I don't get it, then I'm just like giving up on it. Yeah, but yeah, the costume, it was one of those things. Like I felt like a helicopter parent. I was like,
You really
do you need me to do it? Like, no, like, am I doing too much? Like, okay, you go just sew it like this, and you're okay.
I could very much tell too. This is a total tangent, but I could very much tell that you were like, I want her to do all of the sewing and do it on her own, but I'm here to support her because I was having a bad day yesterday. And so you're like, I could tell that you were like, she needs this win and she needs to do it on her own so she feels ownership over it. But you were like, and then just cut it right there. And I'm like, right here? You're like, no. 2 inches over. I was like, right here? You're like, nope, like this way. I was like, wait, what? But you truly.
And then you're like, in my head, I'm like, oh. Clutching my pearls. I'm like, no, not there. Don't mess it up yet.
And in my head,
don't sew it backwards.
I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And then I got mad at one point, and I was like, I'll just seam rip this out in case I need to like redo it later. And you're like, okay. And you're like, you could just cut it. And I was like, no. I'm gonna seam rip it. And then I got angry because it was taking too long, and so I cut it. And sure enough, I should not have cut that. Anyway, you're amazing at what you do. Clearly.
Thank you.
So yeah, so about February, March, I think last year, you started like a training program.
Yeah, I think I gave myself this. I put myself on it was the Nike Run Club app, and
Not sponsored,
but hey, hit me up. But no, I started doing that. I think just to give myself a goal. I think if I didn't have a goal, or like again something to tell me that this is what I need to achieve, I felt that I would stop. And I typically that's what happens. Is like if I could give myself a goal, I could get myself there. Through this time, I actually like listened to a lot of books like when I was running, but that is kind of my curse, is you're not supposed to give yourself goals because you complete those goals. So basically like you have to give yourself like a never ending goal to,
like for ADHD or
with just in general, like for like setting goals, instead of like saying that this is the goal is to run the race. The goal is to run consistently. Like it basically like it's again,
that's boring.
This is the thing that, okay, so that was part of the app. Like there's the coaches, the running coaches. And at the beginning, I was rolling my eyes. I was like, oh my gosh, like it's a bunch of that, like just like motivational type stuff. And I'm not used to it. And I'm just like, oh my, just let me run. Just tell me what I need to do to run. But when you're running for long periods of time, it's very helpful. And like whenever you're like tired and you're like, I don't feel like doing this. Yeah. Those little pick me ups, they feel good. So it was like during that time, I hated them. And then I was like, I really appreciate these coaches that are there but not there type of thing.
Right.
But yeah, I gave myself this goal of like, I'm gonna train, quote, air quotes, for a marathon. So if there's something were to ever come up, if somebody says, here's my spot for the marathon, I'd be able to jump in and race it. But
Me,
again,
pick me.
but not with the, like, there's not that commitment of I'm going to race the race.
Right.
But it's just like, I'll train for it. I'll be prepared for it, but I don't have to actually do it.
Right.
Well, I mentioned something to you, and you are so like, that's what you want. You got it. And like, you're going to do everything. And
that's your dream. Let's make it happen.
yeah.
Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. But my side of the story now. So you were training for a marathon, and you had set just kind of like a goal out there. Like there was a training program. I don't remember what it was, but it was like 20 weeks or something. And that would have ended probably in September timeframe. And when I approached you, or I was like, well, if you are going to run a marathon, do you want to do the Disney marathon? Because that seems like way more fun than just a boring, like nothing to see marathon. And you're like, yeah, I mean, I think it would be cool, but you were kind of on the fence about it. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll keep my ear open for it. I didn't really. And then next thing I know, it's the day that the Run Disney Marathon registration opens.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was aware of it, but you came to me like a few hours after registration opened. You're like, you know what? I think I do want to run the marathon. And I was like, okay. And I get on, and it's like sold out.
But I think because the thing is, and again, we had no knowledge, but because the algorithm was algorithming, and I was looking at running things, I got like every one of our friends that does marathons or runs.
Yeah.
They were talking about they got their spot and stuff like that. So I was like, oh man, geez, like should I have done it? No. And like I start questioning myself. And then again, I mentioned it to you.
But I did everything in my power.
No, but we had our good friend Meredith.
Yeah. A 3-time dopey challenge.
Yeah, she's like
completionist.
Yeah, super badass. But I was like, hey, like, how do you even get a spot? You know, because again, I didn't know the protocols. Like,
right.
who do I need to talk to? Where do I need to go buy tickets? And she gave me a tip to like, they're all sold out, but here's this other avenue of either doing like a charity or spots open up. I guess like people can't do it, and so they return their tickets type of thing.
Yeah.
And it was one of those like just waiting for it to and it's like a virtual queue, or like
it's like an app. It was almost like when you're trying to get like a dining reservation at Disney,
exactly, like that,
where it was like the half marathon is open, the dopey is open, the marathon is open, and you would race to like, it was a race in its own to like get on and fill out all of the registration.
And it was totally third party. It wasn't part of Disney's things. It was basically somebody like an app that watches.
I think it's another travel agent that does it, actually. But you had downloaded it, and then you told me about it, and so I downloaded it, and I watched it like a hawk, and I was always ready. And
I mean, that's a good travel agent right there.
Daily, though, I was checking, and I was like, I think this is something that he really wants. I was probably wrong. But I was like, I think this is something that he really wants. And so I would basically like go into the website and log in every day. So that way all of your stuff was pre-populated. So when it happened, it would just like, boom, you would get it. And it was months and months later. When was it? Like August, maybe.
Yeah. It was. Well, no. It was
either July or August, because you were out in the garage.
I think it was like July-ish.
Doing one of our helmets for Mosh. And I remember going out there, and I was like, so did you want to do that marathon? I was like, because you're doing it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is like when I had started training, again, I just gave myself a date. So there was no particular date.
Yeah.
And then through that time, I was like, man, they're getting really intense. Like, and I'm not really training for a marathon. Again, this is where I just like backpedaled myself. So I was like, I'm going to start over and just kind of like get baby steps again.
Yeah.
So it's like I started the program over. And again, it was just more of like my own self, not commitment type of thing. And then I had to start it a third time when you actually signed me up for it. So I was like, I was doing these the intro plans.
The little baby runs.
The baby runs over and over again.
It was so funny to me though when I went out to the garage and I told you, I was like, I got it. You're in the marathon. Because you were like, cool. And I was jacked. I was like, this is it. This is my whale. I have been trying for this for you. It's just
Well,
how
no,
I show love is like, let me make something happen for you because that's how I show my love for
yeah,
others.
no. Again,
But
it
you were
was
just like,
because again, it was
great.
just like everything. Like it was like those scenes in the movie. You're like, vroom, it's like zoom in. I was like, oh crap, now I have to do it. And so I was like, okay, like let's figure this out. And it's again, I was excited because I was like, okay, I'd wanted this. I'd been saying I wanted to do it, and
Right.
so it's happening. But now I got to train for it and make sure I'm able to do it.
So fast forward. So I
And
mean,
then and kind of
spoiler.
to kind of go back too is like the reason I was like more agreeable to like the Disney marathon
Uh-huh.
was I I was wanting to do a marathon more as a self accomplishment. I don't even want to say even now that it's something that I'm a runner. I'm gonna run a bunch of marathons. I'm trying to get this personal, my PR type of thing.
Right.
Um, it was more of this accomplishment of being able to have this big goal and accomplish it, and that's
Mhm.
what I was using it as. So I was like, I'll do the Disney one because I'm not trying to like you know be the fastest runner in the world
Right.
type of thing. I was like, I just want to be able to say I accomplished one and then see some characters along the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, you did it. Like,
Yeah, I did.
yeah, you did it. You're wearing the shirt,
I bought it,
which you were
which
afraid to
I
buy the
was afraid to
shirt.
buy it. So that's like here. Tip number one:
Okay.
if you're gonna do a Disney marathon,
Yeah.
you might want to go like before all the races because we went pretty much
We went the last day.
well, like we arrived the day of the half marathon.
We arrived the day of the 10K, but so it's
Oh, it was like
so the way that it's laid out is there's a 5K on Thursday, a 10K on Friday, a half marathon on Saturday, and the full marathon on Sunday. You can do two of the races and it's the Goofy Challenge, or you can do all four of the races and it's the Dopey Challenge, which is what our friend Meredith has done, or you can do any one or whatever mix of the races you want. Because you were just doing the marathon, we flew in Friday night. And so we didn't go pick up your badge and go to the expo and like the store until Saturday.
But just like in Disney fashion, there's like the cool things. Like they had like cool windbreakers that are sold out.
Yeah,
Like
everything
you
was
got to
gone.
go. There's the pass holder spare jersey,
A
which
pass
is like,
hole.
which is pretty funny because like if it's wrinkled enough, you just see like the pass hole.
That was sold. It was like in like 2X only.
And they're done. The cast members like we only got extra large and the 2X.
She had been saying that. She had been saying that all day. And she was like, in this one, we only got this. What we have on the table is what we got. I was like, okay. But yeah, I think the expo opens on Wednesday. So it opens before any of the races start. But it's also super slam packed.
Yeah.
And when we were there, it was still busy, but it was navigable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just kind of take your pick on,
but yeah, it's like
what
it's
you
that
want to
whole
do.
weekend. That whole weekend, they kind of Disney takes priority for the runners and stuff.
Yeah. So let's talk about the weekend itself, unless there's anything like notable talking about like your training and leading up to.
Yeah, I mean, I want to give shout outs to like Meredith, just a bunch of like people out there that kind of motivated me, kept me going. And again, that's the thing. I was not wanting to claim like, oh, I'm a runner, or like bring it up so much, but it became part of my life, like my obsessions.
Yeah.
So it was like a lot of the stuff that I was doing, just like anything is like, it just becomes your obsession. So
Yeah.
you're watching, how to run and how to run correctly, not to hurt yourself, for long distances. And, so it was just kind of this journey of going through it. And then again, there was times where I was like, I'm not going to do it. Like I give up. It's beating me. And then, you get up and dust your feet off type of thing and keep running and keep doing it.
And you did it. One of the things I think talking about community around preparing for the race is there was I don't remember what the word was called, but it was basically like a halcyon run club.
Oh yeah.
And there was a bunch of y'all that had done they're right on over there, had done the Conqueror races. And so they're virtual runs that you can do, and you get your miles in either by walking or biking or all these different things. But there's how many of them? 6?
Well, it's for like the original trilogy, or so they have like themed runs. So they have like
They do
these
like
medals.
Lord of the Rings, they do Harry Potter, they do all kinds, but they had a Star Wars one.
And yeah, so I got invited. And again, it's not like well, you could run as a group, and that's totally separate, but you could run as a group, you could run as an individual. The group can like you could share your runs with other people,
Yeah.
so they could see your progress and they could cheer you on, type of thing.
But it was cool because you could see like on Tatooine, like the
Oh, who's all
pod
running with you?
racing track that you would like you're virtually running around, and you could see everybody on the track, like
Yeah.
whoever was doing that race at that time. And so that was neat. That was a cool way to bring community together, even when you're not like in the same city or running at the same time.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, so I did a couple of those different things just to kind of keep that motivation going. But yeah, it was that last, I want to say, month,
I think it was about a month. Yeah.
and then even that last week, it was so like I, through that journey, I found out that it's I would say 50% mental or it's just as much mental as it is physical, because just you're running for that long, like you just go kind
Long
of,
time.
yeah, I mean, I was running, training, running 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So you're just like, going,
Yeah.
just thinking about everything, and sometimes nothing, and sometimes everything. But yeah, you're just like thinking.
Well, so a few weeks before the marathon, you actually got an injury, which
Yeah.
was the first time you had really like suffered an injury in your training.
Well, and it sucks.
I think that's why it was stressful too.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the thing is my knee was starting to feel
Which knee was it?
my Disney.
Not
No,
that knee.
No, it just started to feel like warm, like just
Like sore.
like sore.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't that bad though. But
It's
I
fine.
think when I kept training, and to avoid straining it more, I started to step weird. And then I twisted my ankle, which actually hurt me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one that really started to freak me out, because I was like, oh man, I'm missing runs because I can't like walk on it.
Yeah.
Or, being around the house, I couldn't really step on it, type of thing.
Yeah.
So I think it got me more anxious preparing for it, because I was like, I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to like finish it out, especially like this is the 11th hour now.
Right. And you'd been essentially training for it for a year.
Yeah.
Like this was a year in the making.
Yeah.
Spoiler, you did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so then let's get to getting to Orlando and being there for the weekend. So we flew in on Friday night. We went to the expo, which we had never been to, the ESPN Wide World of Sports. I didn't realize that it was like a huge sports complex out there.
It was big. It's big. It's like a gymnasium, but it feels smaller. To me, felt smaller than what I had envisioned, because that's where they have like all the cheerleading events and
Yeah.
just like all these events. But it's just like a gym.
But it was also full of stuff. It was big. I think it was just
Well, but I
because it
mean,
wasn't set up for like.
It's not like an arena.
No.
It feels like more of like a big gym, like a bigger than a high school gym.
I thought it was sizable. But anyway, so they had like
Yeah.
one building where you go, which I think it was like a baseball field maybe.
Which one?
Where was the one? Was it basketball? I don't know what it was.
The gym?
Where we picked up your bib?
Yeah. That's
was
like
the
the
gym?
actual gym. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we picked up your bib there, and they had, I don't understand why they do this. For the runs, they have character meet and greets. And so you can meet Goofy and you can meet Minnie and Mickey. And they're in black tie.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, nobody at this event is going to be dressed up
Yeah.
in
I know.
any
I
way,
mean,
shape, or form.
somebody might have dressed up like cosplay or like a
Maybe.
formally like
Right, maybe like a costume or something, but like spectators aren't going and like getting dressed to it's not like New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Like, why were they so
Well,
dressed
I think they were
up?
still dressed for New
Maybe,
Year's.
but I was very surprised by it. But so they had photo ops at a bunch of different places, and then they have like a whole expo, which was just like a convention of vendors specific for running. So you could show up and you could buy an entire outfit, like all the way down to socks, underwear, shoes,
Which
outfits.
I would not recommend. Like even me, like I'm totally novice to it, but I wouldn't recommend, because again, when you start training, you want like your very specific things, and that was
Yeah.
the thing too, is like eating. again, you become obsessed. You're like, okay, I know I have to eat these type of things because you don't want to, barf on your run type of. So it's like you
Lovely.
become very, very, very regiment when you're doing training for these things. And so it's not a thing I would recommend. And that was hard too, because going from my regimented food schedule and eating to now we got to go the day before Disney and find, you know, some carbs.
Again, dude, I
My pasta.
stressed so hard about that because you had not eaten like
Yeah. Well, because
pasta carbs.
because I was like trying to look for like the right, like I didn't want to like overindulge because again,
Yeah.
because again, like, our friend, like she had her PR that she was going for. You eat something wrong and it just throws you off.
Yeah. Yeah. She's got a lot of food allergies, and she was accidentally served like a non-allergy friendly meal the night before the marathon. And she still did a great job.
Yeah. But
Like I think she was on par with what she had done before. But yeah, you have to be careful about it. And so we didn't plan it because we're novices to this. And from my side too, and I want to talk about this because I could not find anything out there about how do you spectate the marathon.
Yeah, that was your thing before, and I'm like, I can't worry about that right now. I was like,
I'm not even going to ask him because I don't want to put that on him. I did ask because I was like, so did anything come out from the official guide maybe? And you're like, here's a screenshot. I was like, okay.
Well, because that's all they gave us.
That's all they give you.
So there was that part was like, Disney is real good about it when you're there, and real helpful.
Yeah.
In the sense like they have the signs.
Yeah.
The cast members at the resorts have very limited knowledge. They're just like, hey, go check the board.
Yeah.
Or go check the website. So it doesn't tell you exactly what you need and what you don't need as far as like getting your bib and go over here, go over there type of thing. But again, it's sometimes you can't overthink it because it's very much like you just need your bib and whatever you're going to run in.
Yeah. So here would be my recommendation, just like logistically for anybody that is participating in the races or spectating the races, is in my opinion, I think it is less stressful to stay on property and utilize Disney transportation, because we stayed at Coronado Springs and they had buses running pretty much, I think it was every day of the expo, but pretty regularly, where you just hopped on the bus and they took you to the expo so you could get your bibs, and then you hopped on a bus and they took you back to your resort. It was very easy to do, very easy to get to. You didn't have to stress about trying to find it or find parking. When it came to the night before the event, before the marathon, we went to concierge because we were like, we know the buses start running at 2 a.m. and they want the runners to be there by, was it 3:30? I think they wanted you to be there. And then the race started at 4:30. But it was like, okay, can we, the spectators, ride with you? Are there certain buses that we have to get on? Do the spectator buses start later? Where do tell us anything. And I think you were nervous too, because you were like, okay, buses start running at 2 and we have to be there at 3:30, but are they going to multiple resorts? Like there was just a lot of
question. Like just like uncertainty.
It's just uncertainty. And I think it just adds to the stress when it is uncertain. And so the night before we're like, and then because the buses start running at 2 a.m., we had to go to sleep at like 7. So thankfully it was winter. And so we were able to trick ourselves when the sun went down. And we're like, oh, it's so late. Let's go to sleep. And so we slept as best as we could. I mean, it is. And it was also freezing cold, which we'll get to. But the cast members at the resort, like you said, we heard 2 different things from 2 different ones. One of them was like, oh, just go check the board. And the other one told us, no, there's buses for the runners and there's buses for the spectators. And we're like, okay. So we went based off of that because we're like, oh, that's new knowledge we don't have. We go to bed, we wake up early, get ready. You were ready to go. And I know if I were to have held you back in that moment and be like, oh, we're 10 minutes behind you, you would have just like stressed yourself into a tizzy. And so I was like, go. I was like, we can't even be on the same bus. So just go and we'll, hopefully see when we get there. You could be on the same bus. And so I ended up, I think, on the bus like right after you, but I went and asked them because I went to the same area we went on the bus the day before. And I was like, we're spectators. Can we get on this bus? It was literally all runners.
Yeah.
And then like me and the kids and my stroller. And he was like, yeah. I was like, okay. And so we get in there and get to Epcot, and they drop you off. I don't even know where they dropped us off. I feel like they dropped us off like at Magic Kingdom, and it felt like we walked for ages. Did it feel like that for you too?
No, I mean, I think it was just like more in the parking lot, not where the buses actually drop off.
Yeah. It was like
That's where it felt like.
it was like a back parking lot, and then you walk past where the buses drop off. You
But I
walk
think it's because
past Epcot.
we were running there, like they had the track right there.
Right.
So there was like, that's why I had to be further.
But then you have to walk past Epcot into the other parking lot on the other side of Epcot, and that's where the race started.
Yeah.
So it was a long walk to get out there, but I ended up running into Meredith there, and then you just kind of like, they corral you to a point, and then it splits, and it's runners go this way, and you get into your corral, and then spectators, and they kind of just like all shoved you into a corner right after the starting line.
No.
For spectators.
Oh, for okay, yeah. Yeah, and I think from right there, so this is where I was more leaning towards that Disney experience, because I was like, again, I just want to be able to say I finished one. So I was like, here's this goal. But they're so like, and again, this my only one, so this is the only one I could account for or like kind of testify to. But everybody, like all the cast members, were just very like motivating. They're like, oh, you got this, like, here you go, do great today. All of everybody, and there was like, I'm pretty sure those are not all cast. There's probably volunteers too, like Run Disney people, but it's like all hands on deck. So if you're needing anything, there's people there, and they kind of always like just gave you good words of encouragement type of thing. So that was nice. And
you had been trained to accept this encouragement in your training.
And but yeah, like once they put you in the corrals, kind of like your time of like the different groups that they're sending people off, the anxiousness starts hitting you.
Did you have like mom's spaghetti hands?
It was cold.
It was so cold.
Oh, so that's another thing. So I was like, I'm training in Texas. It's hot.
Yes.
And I learned, okay, I got to run really early because that's when it's still cool for us.
Right. Like you would wake up at like 5 and 6 a.m. to go for your long runs. Yeah.
So like I'm training in the heat. It is cold. And I'm like, I'm not used to this. No. I'm not used to this. And like I had to get the foil bag to
foil bag.
What is it? The Mylar bag, or like
the Mylar blankets.
Yeah. They was like, it actually kept me warm, but it was like, it was so cold, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not gonna be able to start running because it's just like
you're like
I need
blood froze.
Yeah. I was like, but yeah, I was like just that anxiousness, and your teeth are chittering because it's cold, and you're like, I don't know if it's because I'm anxious or I'm cold.
They're like, thank God it's cold out because nobody will know that I'm just like freaking out like a little chihuahua.
But yeah, they had people come out there like Olympians and kind of give us motivation and stuff like that. They're playing trailers and stuff like that. Music,
they played like the Captain America trailer.
DJs. Man, they have like so many DJs out there like along the path, which is awesome because I was listening to an audiobook.
What were you listening to?
Yeah, I listened to an audiobook and my favorite Ready Player One.
Oh.
So finished that, and I timed it well because I had the very end of the
so book. You're like, yeah.
Yeah, so it was just all the good stuff. But then I listened to music, but then the bunch of DJs, so I would kind of like pop off the headphone to listen to what they were playing for a little bit and pop it back in. But yeah, just like waiting there was just kind of like, I was just anxious.
So from my side, they have 5, 6 corrals, A through E, I think they did. But then within each of the corrals, they had waves. And so I think they had 3 waves in each of them. And I say I think because nobody ever told the spectators. Not a single
they told
bit.
They were on the microphone telling us like, okay.
Well, so we could hear it.
A1 or A wave 1 coming up.
So we could hear the things they were saying on the main stage, and there was a TV, but there were so many people packed in. and it's freezing. I'm holding our daughter in the Mylar blanket, so she's just like slipping down my leg. I'm trying to hold my phone to like take a video of you. There's a guy in front of me that keeps whipping up a sign every time like the next
Wait.
wave goes through. I was just like, I was like, I can't complain. I cannot complain. I am not running 26.2 miles today. But it was just like chaotic. And so the first runners go through. Our friend Meredith's in like the very first wave, and I'm checking like find my friends on my phone, and I see she's past me. I was like, oh no, like I didn't see
Okay, so
her.
that's like a good question. So, can you actually see people, or is it just like you get lucky and you find people?
So I didn't know Meredith. I knew she was an A, but I didn't assume she was like the first ones. And then they also have like they have the people that are riding like the bikes that go before, and so it wasn't clear when
Oh,
she was going to go
yeah, yeah.
through. And so
Those were the um, uh, like disability.
they're like the disabled ones, but they could ride the bikes on their own,
Yeah.
because then there was another wave later on where it was people running and pushing somebody in a like a
Yeah.
bike thing. But I couldn't tell when, I didn't know when she was going to go through, and it all was kind of just like chaos, and they were showing Captain America trailers, and then like there's runners going by and there's fireworks going off and this guy's lifting the sign, and I was just like, ah! And so I look and I was like, oh, we missed Meredith. I was like, okay, well, I will not miss Steven. I am determined. And so me and our daughter go climb up. Our son wanted to be like up against the fence and see you. And so me and my daughter, we go up to the top of the stands or whatever, and I'm watching you on Find My Friends, and I kind of see you like not really moving in the parking lot, and I'm like, did he already run by and it's just not updating? Like I don't know what's happening, but I knew you were in D. I think
E.
you were you in E
I think
corral?
maybe E.
You were one of no.
And again, they weren't like set up like, so it was, the A through, oh, maybe it was D.
I think you were in D and there was E also.
But the waves, it was just more of like, okay, here's your corral, and they start moving you. So you're just kind of going with the herd.
Yeah.
So they're just like
literally corralled.
Yeah, you're corralled, and they're just like moving you, and then
Like we walked
they
past
put a
y'all
little-
and it was just like a sea of people.
Yeah, they put the rope through, and you're like, just kind of like, yeah. But then they push you forward again, and you're like, all right, well, this is where I'm at.
So yeah,
And I want to say, at that moment, I made the call because I was so cold, like I couldn't really like move my fingers and stuff.
yeah.
And like I needed to start. I was going to start my book, and typically I would start a run to like be able to pace myself and do it. I said I'm not going to do any of it. Like it was like because my phone was kind of being finicky on like connecting for like music and stuff like just like the internet connection. So I was like, I don't know if it's because I'm in the parking lot or if there's just like a lot of people or like what. I was like, I don't want to be fooling with my mileage.
Stressing about that.
I was like, I just want to finish it. I'm not caring about pace. Like, let me not add that as a. So I was like, at the starting line, I'm like, nope, I'm not gonna do it. Like, I'm already like changing my plan. I was like, I just need to do it. Like, I just need to do the race. I'm not gonna even time it.
You embodied Nike.
Yeah, I was like, I just did it. So yeah, that was like a bit of stress at the very beginning because I was like, typically I pace myself, and I didn't know if I was pacing myself well or not during the entire race.
But you did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, well, I don't want to text him because I don't know like what your pre-run like ritual is, if you do like mantras and like I don't know what you're doing. So I was like, I'm not adding stress to him. I knew you were in corral D, I'm pretty sure. And then thankfully you texted me because I was like, hey, we are right past the starting line. Our son is down by the fence and we are up at the top of the second stands. And then you text me back and you're like, I'm in the second wave of D. And I was like, okay, well, at least now I know.
Yeah.
Except that they maybe like every 2 or 3 waves would they tell you what it is. And so it was just kind of like a weird Groundhog's Day because every 5 minutes or so it would be like poof, fireworks, people run through, the guy with the sign. And then, the sign really ruined my day. I should just post a reel of like the guy lifting the sign because it was I have 5 videos of this guy before I finally moved. He's not in the video I have of you, thankfully, because we had the high ground for that one. But I got to see you then, and I was like, oh my god, I got to see you. There's tens of thousands of people here, and I got to
There
see
was,
you.
and that was the thing from my perspective. I'm like, okay, I want to try to find you, just
Yeah.
to kind of give myself that, okay, like I'm going, and you start like looking around, and I'm like, oh shit, like I don't know where they're at. There's just like a lot of people,
I
and it's just like very, you know, very lucky. I see this stunning woman up there.
with shining hair.
Yeah.
No,
No,
I had a beanie on.
but no, I saw you. I was like, okay, boom, you know. But I didn't see her son. I was
Yeah.
like, you know, so I got the motivation, and so like now I'm going.
But yeah, so then I see you, and then they do have this app that they put out where you can type in somebody's like bib number. You can, I think you could even type like their name or where they're from, and you can track them. And so that was something else that I was doing is you had a little like RFID chip in your bib
Oh
that
yeah,
would track you along the way. And I mean, it would
but
update by tenths of the
I would
mile.
say, but it's more meant. I mean, I guess it's for the racer to like see where
Yes.
they're at, but you could also check.
But Disney did post a kind of like a spectator viewing thing. And so they said, if you want at the starting line, there's going to be seating at the starting line. And so you start there. And then the next one was going to be at mile 9 at Magic Kingdom. And so as soon as we saw you go, we like book it and we go back to the TTC and we go through to Magic Kingdom. It was so early you didn't need a park ticket, but we're booking it over there, and I'm watching you on Find My Friends, and I'm watching you on this other app to like, okay, we're still ahead of him. We're good. Like, how can
Which
you?
is like, how wild is that? Like, I'm not a fast runner,
Yeah.
but you're like rushing around. And I think the other thing too is like, you're not going very direct. You're
No.
probably going like,
Yeah.
like extra roads.
Yeah. So I mean, really, like we had 9 miles. You're 9 miles worth to get from Epcot to Magic Kingdom, but I mean, we got there like 30 minutes before. That was the longest lead time I think we had. And the people at Magic Kingdom. So you didn't need a park ticket to get in that early, and it's at the earlier side of the race. And there's a lot of people that I think go to Magic Kingdom to cheer on the marathon runners or just the
Which is
racers in general.
for as a runner, it is very
Amazing.
nice. It's if when you get to the parks when there's a lot of people and everybody's cheering you and ringing the bells, it gives you that little surge of energy
Right.
to get through
It's
it.
amazing. And so they have it so that you go in the right side of Magic Kingdom. The runners go in the right side of Magic Kingdom. They run down Main Street, and then I don't know where y'all went, but they stop the spectators just before the hub, like the middle of the hub. And so you could only line up on the left side. And there was so many people there, and it's filled, and you're back 3-4 people. And there were some people that were there just, they wanted to be at the front for the entire time. And everywhere else that I went, like if I needed to sneak in, like, oh, everybody would be like, oh, is your person about to come? I'm like, they're going to be here in like 3 minutes. And they're like, oh, okay, we can swap, and then we'll swap back.
Yeah.
Magic Kingdom, man, was a test. Like our son was like, why are these people not moving? And I'm like, don't you worry. I was like, we are getting up there. And so we got up there and we saw you briefly. I don't know that you expected to see us.
No, it was a surprise.
And I felt like I was a goblin.
Because there was a lot of people, and
there was a lot of people.
Like, I think you caught me because you were yelling at me.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh,
that's familiar. I felt like a goblin because it was so cold and so early that when I was trying to scream, like it was some form of my voice was coming out, but I'd be like, Steven. I'm afraid to go back and watch those videos because I sound crazy. That's probably why you turn it. You're like, what is this sound? But yeah, so they posted a thing. They were like, you can go to Magic Kingdom, you can go to TTC, then you can go to Animal Kingdom, and then I think Hollywood Studios, the Boardwalk, Epcot again, and then the finish line. And they tell you the mile marker, but they don't really tell you that. Some of them told you how to get from one place to the other. But after you do Magic Kingdom, and then you can go back to the TTC, that's easy. You get on the monorail, you go to the TTC. From there, the next stop is Animal Kingdom. And you guys are running on the main roads.
Yeah.
And so I was stressed out, and I'm like, how do I get down to Animal Kingdom?
You know, it's funny because like at this point, like once it's marathon, I'm just running it. Like I'm, seeing characters, like my story. Like it's funny because like now I'm like, oh man, like let me hear your story now. I was like, I'm just running. I'm just like mile 2, mile 3, mile 4, and seeing characters along the way. I do have one funny story, but I'm gonna let you finish.
Thanks, Kanye.
Yeah.
So we get to the TTC, And by this point, because of all of the hecticness that happened at Magic Kingdom and people just not wanting to give up their spots, our son was like feeling a little deflated. And he was like, I just want one thing, and I just want a high five from dad during this whole thing. And I'm like, buddy, he's running a marathon. We did not discuss this before. So if he does not give you a high five, like, it's a great goal to have. I'm so proud that you have a goal, but it may or may not happen.
I mean, we were connected telepathically.
You were, because we get to the TTC, and again, we would get there 10 to 15 minutes before you would run up. It was crazy. I'm like, I'm using modern technology to move between these places. How are you running so fast? And so we scoot up to the front, and our daughter had fallen asleep like before we got to Magic Kingdom, and so she slept all the way through the TTC even. But you saw him. Again, Goblin screamed at you, and then you saw him and just stopped. I think you high-fived him, gave him a quick kiss on the forehead, and I was like, what about me? And you were gone. I was like, okay. But then I was like, well, now what do I do? I was like, I want to go down to Animal Kingdom. I don't know if I can like Uber down there because they can't take the main roads.
Yeah.
And so thankfully I go and I ask a cast member, and they're like, oh, we have buses that'll take you to either Animal Kingdom or Hollywood Studios. I was like, I want to do Animal Kingdom because that was kind of the midpoint of the race, or a little bit towards, there was a long stretch.
Well, and yeah, we had kind of studied the track. So like
Yeah.
Magic Kingdom had pretty much all of Magic Kingdom we ran in.
That's cool.
And then Epcot, well, we started in Epcot, but we pretty much ran through all of Epcot.
Yeah.
And then Animal Kingdom, it was like a smaller portion, like Everest.
Like just
side,
the very back of it.
very back of it. And then Hollywood Studios, like technically we ran through it, but it was such a small, it was like Fantasmic to the entrance.
No.
And not even like through the main road, it was like that back.
Oh, like the Fantasmic exit.
But yeah, that's why you would pick going to Animal Kingdom and then to Epcot.
I also knew that it was going to be a long time because it's the Magic Kingdom is at the top of property. Hollywood Studios and Epcot are kind of central, but a little more on the northern side. And then it's just like no man's land down there in the south, which is where Animal Kingdom is. And so it's a long way to get down there. And so I was like, he's going to need motivation. He's going to need to see us to know that we're like cheering him on. And I wanted to be there for you. And so we get the bus down there. Our daughter's asleep. I have to like get her out asleep, fold the stroller, get on the bus. It was fun. And then she slept the whole way. We get down there. I have to unfold the stroller with her asleep. This was my marathon. We get there. By this point, the parks had opened. They were open for, I think I tapped in right around 8:00, which was, I think, official park opening for Animal Kingdom, but resort guests and people could get in before then. So there were people in the park. But this time I checked you and I was like, okay, we've got like 25 minutes. And I was like, I am freezing. I could not feel my toes or my fingers. It was so cold because I gave the kids the Mylar blankets and I was like, I can't wear it too because I've got too much other stuff and everything's so slippery. So I was like, I'll be fine.
Oh, and the crazy thing was, so I wore like
compression
pants and a jacket.
Yeah.
And people were shedding clothes and I would try to take off my like gloves and I was cold. I was like, crap. Like, I don't know how people are like going shirtless or like, with very little. I'm like, I'm freezing.
Yeah.
And I'm still running and like, it's hot. I'm sweating. I'm sweating, but I'm cold still.
That's what amazed me is I think because it was so cold, people weren't.
I still had my beanie on and everything.
You weren't like sweating. And it was cute because in all your pictures, like your nose is just like red from the cold. But nobody looked like run down, even at Animal Kingdom, which was, I think, the like 16 or 17 mile mark. Like y'all all still looked great. And you've been running for hours at this point.
I will say, because that's like around 16 to 19 or something like that.
I think so.
When I saw you guys and just like going through because again, like you're most of the time in the back roads and parking lots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Getting into a park when there's like a lot of people motivating you, like I had that huge rush of emotion, like going through the park. Because again, like you're just mentally like, can I do this? Can I do this type of thing? But it got me when I was going through and leaving there. I'm like, ugh, like I'm almost there. Like that's what I was telling myself that last bit. It's like almost there.
Like Tiana.
Yeah. But no, my funny story. So going into again, I didn't go with anybody. I didn't have anybody that I was pacing with or anything like
Right.
that. But going into Magic Kingdom, and in the corrals, I'm kind of like I'm not very extroverted, so I can't make a lot of
You like to
friends.
keep to yourself.
Keep to myself,
Yeah.
but like I was standing next to someone that was also cold, and
You're like, cold weather we're having,
yeah,
huh?
but no, it was she was saying like like she's got gloves or like for her cosplay or whatever. It
Yeah.
was like real gloves, but it was like big Mickey gloves. She's like, oh, my gloves, like I need warm gloves type of thing. And we start chatting and end up seeing that she's dressed as Minnie. And I was like, oh, I'm dressed as Mickey. And then I was like, it's kind of weird. Like
You're like, I'm not
I was like, I'm not
trying
trying
to hit on you, but it kind of makes sense.
but so, we're kind of like in the corral together and we're
Mhm.
like, okay, looking out for each other because she's new, I'm new. And we're like, okay, we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We start running and immediately lose each other. So you start going and you there's like packs of people. So you kind of start running with them. And then there's the pace people. So there's like these huge groups.
Yeah.
But if they're not the same pace, then you kind of either leave them behind or they leave you behind. But coming up to Magic Kingdom, there was this one lady that we started kind of just pacing with each other. And not intentionally.
Different lady than
Different lady.
Okay.
Different lady. And we just kind of start pacing each other. And we're just like staying in sync with each other.
Yeah.
So I'm like, do I say something? Like, I don't know the like,
Right.
if I'm not allowed to talk to her, but like, I don't want to talk to her and her be like, oh,
mess
I can't.
her up.
Yeah, mess her up. So we're just kind of like running with each other. And then we're like running around people or people running in between us type of thing.
Oh.
And so we're just kind of like running next to each other,
Yeah.
like pacing each other, but not. And we run with each other for like a good while into Magic Kingdom. And I think when I saw you guys is when I kind of split off.
Oh, okay.
And, I didn't see her again. And so the entire race, I'm just doing my thing, making my way. And it was at Hollywood Studios. This is like mile 22 or something like that.
Yeah.
23. We're running to Boardwalk and I see her again. And I was like, hey. Yeah, and like I'm like barely
Clearly
I'm hanging in there.
You're not yourself if you're like talking to strangers.
Yeah. But again, I'm like, I just gotta make it. I just gotta make
Yeah.
it. And then I see her like, hey, and she sees me. She's like, oh my God, like I didn't think I was gonna see you. And I was like, I need you right now. I was like, we gotta finish this. And she's like, I need you right now. And so we're just like, that's who I ended up like finishing the race with. And she's like, so we kind of at the end gave each other that, pick me up.
Yeah, the push you needed.
But yeah, it was a funny story. It was just like we got separated and we were just like, oh, whatever. Like I didn't even get her name. And then afterwards I was like, or while we were running, I started, getting her name. And
yeah.
it was her first time too and stuff like that. So.
Oh. Well, we saw her like after the race and you're like, oh, that's her. I was like, oh, let's go say hi. You're like, no. Let's leave. I was like, okay. I was here.
Yeah.
It would have been if you guys were not if neither of y'all had spouses and families, it would have been a beautiful story.
Yeah, it would have been.
But maybe in another life you'll meet at the next Disney race and run together. The next lifetime. But yeah, so we saw you at Animal Kingdom. We actually had time to stop for like coffee and hot chocolate, which I think was the much needed boost that the kids needed too. Because like I needed caffeine, but I was always also just running on stress as always. And so they got hot chocolate. And then we got to watch you run through, and it was fun because like you said, there's packs of people. And so we would see the same people, like, because they were dressed in costumes and stuff running. And so we're like, okay, it's getting close. But as soon as you ran past an Animal Kingdom, I was like, gotta go. Oh, I didn't even say this. From the TTC to get to Animal Kingdom, probably usually on a normal day, like 20 minutes, 45 minutes, because we had to go all the way around because we had to avoid the running track. So then I was like, I don't know how we're going to get back. So there's nobody. There is not a single cast member out by the buses that's like, oh, if you're a spectator and you're trying to get back, do this. And so I was like, okay. So I go to the bus stop and I'm like, well, I guess my best bet will just be to I was going to go to one of I didn't want to go to one of the Epcot resorts like Boardwalk or anything like that because it would take you to the backside. I didn't want to go to a Skyliner resort because it would take you to the backside. So I'm like, I'm just going to go to one that's near and then I'll just take a bus from there. And that buses weren't coming. It's animal buses never show up at Animal Kingdom. You're waiting there forever. And so finally there's a bunch of us like all freaking out, like, where do we go? We're stuck in Animal Kingdom and like the race is about to end. And one guy was just like, a cast member was like, just there's a bus coming for Animal Kingdom Lodge, just go take that and then take the bus from there to Epcot.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, that was my original plan, but smart to just do Animal Kingdom because it's right there. And so I did that, and all the other spectators were like, I don't trust this plan. And so I had to like become the leader, and I was like, it's fine. This is what we're doing. We're going to get there. I'm rallying everybody.
You're like, if I'm going down, you're going
We're
down
all
with me.
going down. But I'm like, this was my original plan. We're going to be okay. So anyway, I mean, we make it back to Epcot. They have like grandstands there, and they had thankfully like way more space at the finish line for people to line up and cheer you on. Because you and I didn't text at all the entire time. It was more of just like, hey, I'm planning on being in these places to see you, but I didn't even know if you would remember where I was going to be or what. So I was tracking you the whole time. And so we got up in the stands, and dude, our son was like the best. He was freezing cold. He was so cold, but he didn't want to admit it because I think he wanted to be there to support you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so he just like powered through. He's helping me with the stroller. He's helping me with like navigating, and he would go find like good seats for us. And so then I would go park the stroller and we would all go up. But yeah, so we got there for the finish line and screamed our heads off for you, and you saw us, and then like right after that you crossed the finish line. And
yeah, and then my legs didn't work for a good while.
Yeah, dude. Okay, here's the thing they don't talk about. So that's running through the race. And like, I'll say this for a spectator, if you're going to run the race, use what they give you, and then just know that after Animal Kingdom, it will all fall apart because it was a new race course this year.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't a lot of guidance after you made it out of kind of the TTC
Well, because the parks
bubble.
start opening. Because like,
yeah, before
MK's like closed at that time, so it's easy to go in and out.
Right.
Same thing, Epcot, like it's closed when it's at the beginning, and then at the end, you're on the outside of it.
Yeah.
But Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, the park, there's like an actual park goer,
Yeah.
so they're just kind of like walking around, like looking.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on over there?
You're like, oh, Dino Land's closing, which you were the last marathon, the last race to ever run through Dino Land, which pour one out for Hester and Chester.
There you go.
But yeah, so from a spectator's perspective, if you need help, just reach out because I stressed plenty about it. But we did it. You finished the race, and then we came to find you, and you were just like, yeah, I want to go. I want to go home.
Yeah, I was tired.
Yeah.
I got to, I didn't hurt myself or anything like that, but
No.
I was just like spent.
Yeah.
I
mean, you ran 26
the crazy
miles.
thing. So like during the race, it's something I forgot. They had added, so there's characters all along the race. Around that mile 16, 16, 17, they actually had Star Wars characters.
Yeah.
So I had Chewie and
Our friend DJ Elliott was out there.
Elliot, but there was just like a bunch of Star Wars characters. So I actually stopped, which I didn't realize until after I stopped. And I was going to stop for all the Star Wars characters, but that's when my legs were like, oh, you want to rest now? And I'm like, oh no, like getting going again. I was like, oh man, this is going to suck. But I would stop because I was like, okay, let me just kind of take this, maybe like get my second win type of thing.
Yeah.
And
that's why I think that's also why you never stopped to like
really like hang out with you guys.
Here was the other thing. So you high-fived and kissed our son, and then you hugged and kissed our daughter in Animal Kingdom. I never got any love from you.
At the very end, when I accomplished my goal, you got the biggest hug and kiss.
I did, and I'm just giving you crap, but I don't care. But I was a little bit like, oh, because the runners would see their people and pull over to stop at the spectators, and they would like give a hug and a kiss and like, how are you doing? Oh, you want to go do this later? And they would stop for like a good 30 seconds to a minute. You never stopped moving. Like if you came to like kiss our daughter, you were like, and it's just like gone. was like, was that him? I hope that was him. But I was like a little bit after Magic Kingdom because there was a lot of runners that would stop, and then there were some that were like, oh, I was like, oh, he's one of those. He's like, bye.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, yeah, we were reunited. You took a couple pictures with your medal, and then they had buses there that take you right back
But it's
to
so
the
funny because like
resort.
you finished, and then they just kind of like hand you, here's your medal, here's your hat, here's your thing. They just start giving you blankets and stuff. They just like boom, 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 give you some food, give you drinks or whatever, and just like send you on your way.
And you're like, all right, you did it. Get out.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, but we went back to the hotel. I was like, okay, well, we'll just go, you can go take a shower and like, rinse off, and then we'll go eat at the food court, and then we'll rest, we'll sleep because we've been up. And then we had plans to go out to Epcot.
Like noon.
No, you finished the race at 10 a.m.
Okay.
This is like 11 by the time we're back. Like this was
Still
morning.
early.
It's still in the morning. But we're like, okay, we'll eat lunch because it's now lunchtime. And then
I ate my lunch, and I think I was like falling asleep in
we
the
didn't
chair.
go to the food court because you were like, you sat down in the chair. Your knee and your ankle were hurting, so we went and got ice for you. And then we brought you back food, and you're like falling asleep eating. And you're just like, I was like, you have to get up. I don't think you showered. I think I finally just got you to like move to the bed.
Yeah, I fell asleep, and then it was a couple hours and woke up and
went and had your that was the one thing you wanted.
Yeah.
Was a celebratory margarita in Mexico.
Which again, it's great because now, I wear the medal to Epcot, and cast members and other runners are congratulating. Yeah. So it's, again, it feels good to be congratulated.
But you had a honor bestowed upon you even higher than the marathon medal. Our friend Don,
he made me a medal. So we had like this like inside joke of,
I don't even know where I don't know where this joke originated from.
It was one of the times we were hanging out, but it was to do with
like beef
jerky, but it's like in a chew,
like a tobacco chew container, and it's just like,
it's for protein,
but it's just like chopped up jerky. It's like as if tobacco was beef jerky, like chewing tobacco, because you could stick it in your gum if you wanted.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
We have 6 cans of it. Like one day he was just like, here you go.
Here's some protein. But no, he had made a medal of it, so it was just like, again, super funny because it was this inside joke that we had, and
you got stopped for it.
Yeah, I did. Somebody was like, "Oh, what medal's that?" And I was
oh man, it was. I'm glad that we were able to like rally and get out to the parks at least, because the next day you were like
walking straight legged and everything.
No, you were fine there, and we were able to catch up with some friends. Yeah, we were able to catch up with some other friends that had run the races, and just other friends that happened to be in town too. So it was. I'm glad we like went out that night. But the next day we flew out, which I think is a bad idea. Here's another tip: don't fly out the day after your race, especially if you're running the marathon, because you woke up the next morning and you were like, "I'm not gonna." You were like, "I'm not gonna make it."
Yeah, I felt like I was gonna die, and I think it's just because like you're constantly moving. You're like, you just ran, I ate, slept, went back out to the park, and it was just kind of like nonstop that I didn't get to rest, because it was like once we got home and I got to actually sleep like in my bed, I was fine.
But here's the thing I don't think they tell you is like, 1, it was really cold. 2, your sleep cycle's thrown off, because like we didn't go to the parks. Well, we went to the parks to eat dinner, but we were back in the hotel by like 6 p.m. the night before the marathon. You were in bed by 7. But like your sleep's thrown off. Yeah. It's cold.
Well, they tell you. I mean,
you're
fully aware of it.
Yeah.
It's
just like, I think you're
giving that time, like giving yourself that prep time before.
Yeah. But your body was so fried. Like when we got home, you had a fever. Like by the time we got home that night, and you were like in bad shape. Like I was the one that like packed up all of the luggage and everything, and I'm like, you got this? Can you walk?
Yeah, no, I was.
So yeah, but by the next day you got a full night's sleep and you like popped out of bed and you're like, that was cool.
Yeah.
Never doing that again. No, but really, okay. It's been a few weeks now since the marathon.
Mhm.
I had asked you the following day because you were like absolutely dead. You're like, never again.
Well, no, I was like, no, unless there was like some kind of incentive. Like if,
But you said the incentive would be me running it with you,
well, no,
which
no,
is
I
like,
said like if there was, I don't know, like if somebody said, hey, for,
Mr. Beast comes
yeah,
to you
like
and
for a
says,
million
run this
bucks, like run.
marathon.
I was like, all right, I'll do it.
Now, a few weeks removed from it, would you do, let me ask a few questions. Would you do a marathon, another marathon, Disney or otherwise?
Um, I mean, I can.
You can.
Yeah.
Do you have the desire to?
I think it is there. What's the incentive? What do I?
So it was a true bucket list of like, I've crossed it off. I'm done with
Yeah.
that now. Like it has not awakened something in you that you're like, I'm a
Uh,
runner.
Well, I again like the part that I'm kind of like how do I work it into my habit, my lifestyle
Yeah.
is like maybe the smaller runs, just
Yeah.
like the movement, keeping this routine of like, because I like right now we've been pretty busy traveling ourselves, but and so I've kind of excused myself, but there's the times where I'm like typically I'd be running right now.
Yeah.
Like I kind of feel like what do I do with my hands type of thing.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like that part of it I'm kind of missing, that just kind of this ritual of like running and then getting that time to myself.
Yeah.
Or listening to a book, because I was listening to a lot of books, music and stuff like that. So it's like it was just that time of solitary that I had.
Steven time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe like a 10K or something
Yeah.
would be sufficient.
Yeah.
We'll see. That was my last question, was like, okay, if not a marathon, would you do like some of the
Oh
shorter
yeah,
races?
I mean, if again I'd be down for
Don't
it.
like,
Well, no, it's like I'd be like for the shorter ones, like I'd be totally down for it. Like if they have a cool medal or something like that, yeah.
I would have to train for
Now
months.
that's
Like
the
you're
thing.
so like,
So that there's that incentive. That if there was a really cool medal, like for the marathon, if it was like a Star Wars thing, then I would say, okay, yeah, let's do it. Because there's like that
they had the
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka one
Yeah,
that just happened this last weekend.
Yeah.
We missed it.
Yeah.
The other thing is if I run a race with you, what do we do with the kids?
Yeah, that's gonna be a hard one.
That's my excuse. I mean, my reason. I did not think we were going to talk about the marathon for that long.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big.
It's a lot of. That was a lot of time.
It was a big part of our lives for like the last year. I mean, you've like
as a runner and as a spectator, as somebody being supportive of it. I think that's the part of it too that I appreciate to you. I tip my hat to you is like it is. There's going through a training like that for if it's running or something else. That training takes a priority, and that's where like you picking up slack where it's needed. It helped not to stress me out when I'm trying to train for this thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you for doing this. I am glad you were the one that did it, not me. But maybe I'll just put it. Maybe I will run a.
We'll
Disney,
make it happen.
A no more than 10K. Let's start with a 5K. And maybe not running the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
I can commit to that. It's a non-commitment commitment.
All right.
Okay. So I think that wraps up this episode. The day this episode drops, we'll already be in Orlando for our second Mosh Isley in Orlando. Our costumes will be done by then because they are not right now.
We're done right here in my heart.
In your heart. We're close.
Yeah, we're done.
We're good
We're
enough.
done.
It's good enough, but you know us. You haven't done your like last minute.
So go to moshisley.com. If you don't have a ticket, come see if we finish our costumes or not.
Who knows? We don't know yet. We will see you tomorrow at Mosh Isley. It will be a great time.
Until next time.